God is dead, and we have killed him. This was the sentiment of the modernist movement that took place in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. This movement came as a reaction to the shocking chaos of World War I, and it led people to question the realism movement that was prominent at the time. They acknowledged the fact that society is constantly changing, pointing towards innerness through the breaking of frames and forms found in the current literature of the day. Modernist poets and writers were seeking to break the mold that was currently held in literature. As the saying by Ezra Pound goes, they were seeking to make it new. This led to practices such as fragmentation and unreliable narrators found within stories, causing the traditional plot of a story and flow of the story to be changed and shifted. Louise Bogan called the Modernism movement a sort of permanent avant-gardism. The quote from her reads, "The line of modern poetry is a persistent line toward new structure, new largeness, and new power, directed by an undeviating search not for an absolute and all-embracing aesthetic machine, but for a commodious and flexible carrier of complicated thought and sensibility." The modernism movement in literature closely follows the modernism movement in society as a whole, as we begin to see many of the societal influences and shifting ideas making their way into all modernist literature. Some of these ideas include the rejection of absolute truth and the adoption of personal truths and shifting viewpoints. This is also known as relativism. It also involved questioning the established norm. An artist no longer had to stick to what was considered normal within art, being able to shift the structures of their literature and how they wrote, sometimes breaking various rules of grammar, punctuation, and spelling intentionally in order to have an effect on the literature. The new structure and its differences with the old ways of writing can be strongly seen in many poems from the time, specifically Marianne Moore's poetry and E. Cummings's next to, of course, God, America, I. From the title of E. Cummings's poem alone, you can see just how radically different some of these works looked from all of the work that was made prior to them. Some elements of modernism can even be found in earlier works, such as The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, where the author plays with the idea of an unreliable narrator and a plot that is more difficult to follow than most. Overall, modernism in literature represents a stark difference from all the works in literature that came before it. From a Christian perspective, a major con of the modernism movement was the rejection of authority and absolute truth. The idea of relativism falls in direct conflict with Christianity, and through this movement, the grassroots of liberalism within Christianity began, introducing a blurred morality and questioning what moral compass is each person holding themselves to.